On the afternoon of January 12, 2010, the vibrant, densely packed capital city of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, was pulsing with life. The streets were filled with the sounds of street vendors selling fresh fruit, colorful tap-tap buses weaving through traffic, and children walking home from school. Port-au-Prince was a city built on resilience, a place where nearly 3 million people carved out lives despite profound economic hardships, political instability, and a lack of basic infrastructure. Towering directly over this sprawling urban landscape were the beautiful steep green hillsides of the Enriquillo-Plantain Garden fault zone. To the average resident, these mountains were just a scenic backdrop to their daily struggles. They had no idea that beneath the vibrant surface, centuries of tectonic pressure had reached a violent breaking point. In a matter of just 30 seconds, the ground would violently buckle, unleashing a catastrophic event that would physically flatten the capital city, trap hundreds of thousands of people beneath rubble, and change the nation of Haiti forever. The disaster struck at exactly 4:53 p.m. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, just 15 miles west of the capital, the boundary where the Caribbean tectonic plate grinds past the North American plate suddenly ruptured. For 30 agonizing seconds, the Earth violently jerked side to side and up and down in a magnitude 7.0 convulsion. Because the earthquake nucleated at an incredibly shallow depth of only 8 miles, the seismic energy didn't dissipate through the Earth before reaching the surface. It slammed into Port-au-Prince with the raw, focused power of an explosion. Within seconds, a massive, thick shroud of white concrete dust rose into the air, completely blotting out the afternoon sun and plunging the city into a choking, silent darkness. As the dust slowly settled, a scene of apocalyptic devastation emerged. Port-au-Prince had essentially ceased to exist as a functional city. To understand why a magnitude 7.0 earthquake completely collapsed a capital city, you have to look beyond the geology and look directly at the tragic intersection of poverty, rapid urbanization, and structural engineering. A magnitude 7.0 earthquake is undoubtedly powerful, but in countries with strict building codes like Japan or Chile, a quake of this size might cause significant structural cracking, minor injuries, and a handful of casualties. But in Haiti, it was an entirely different story. For decades, Port-au-Prince had experienced massive population growth as rural families migrated to the capital in search of work. To accommodate millions of people, the city grew rapidly and organically, without any centralized urban planning, zoning laws, or enforced building codes. The vast majority of structures in Port-au-Prince were built using a method known as unreinforced concrete and cinder block construction. Concrete is an incredibly strong material under compression, meaning it can easily hold up the weight of a heavy roof. But concrete is highly brittle and possesses almost zero tensile strength, meaning it cannot handle being twisted, bent, or pulled side to side. In wealthier nations, concrete is heavily reinforced with thick grids of internal steel rebar, which flexes and bends during an earthquake, keeping the building upright even if the concrete cracks. In Haiti, steel rebar was an expensive luxury that most everyday builders simply could not afford. Compounding the problem was the quality of the concrete itself. To save money, local builders often mixed cheap, unwashed beach sand into their concrete batches. The high salt content in beach sand corrodes what little steel rebar is used, and the irregular shape of the sand grains prevents the cement from bonding properly, leaving the finished structure weak, powdery, and highly unstable. When the seismic waves rolled through Port-au-Prince, these brittle, unreinforced concrete structures had zero flexibility. Instead of swaying with the ground, they suffered catastrophic structural failure. Massive multi-story apartment buildings, schools, and hospitals didn't just tip over, they pancaked. Floors collapsed directly on top of one another, instantly crushing everyone inside and leaving no survival voids for the people trapped beneath the rubble. The collapse was not limited to the informal settlements and slums. The sheer violence of the shaking brought down the nation's most iconic and historically significant public institutions. The National Palace, the beautiful white-domed home of the Haitian presidency, collapsed into a crumpled heap of concrete. The Grand Notre Dame Cathedral was ripped apart, its historic spires crashing into the pews below. Government ministries, headquarters for the United Nations Stabilization Mission, and the city's main correctional facility were all flattened in the exact same manner. In less than a minute, the entire administrative, political, and emergency response apparatus of the country was physically wiped out, leaving the nation completely leaderless and paralyzed in the crucial first hours of the disaster. The human toll of this structural collapse was staggering on a scale that defies imagination. The Haitian government estimated that between 200,000 and 300,000 people lost their lives in the disaster, with hundreds of thousands more severely injured and over 1 million people left instantly homeless. The immediate aftermath was a scene of pure, unadulterated chaos. Because the government ministries had collapsed and emergency workers were themselves trapped under rubble, there was no centralized rescue operation. The city's main hospitals had been destroyed, and the surviving medical clinics were completely overwhelmed within minutes, forced to perform amputations on sidewalks using basic tools without anesthesia or clean water. With no heavy machinery available to clear the debris, everyday citizens became the frontline rescuers. Using their bare hands, shovels, and simple iron bars, neighbors dug frantically through the concrete dust to pull loved ones from the ruins. The streets became vast open-air morgues, with thousands of bodies lined up along the pavements, as the tropical heat created a desperate race against time to prevent the spread of disease. The international community responded with a massive, historic influx of aid, but the physical destruction of the city's infrastructure created a monumental logistical bottleneck. The capital's main port was severely damaged, its container cranes thrown into the sea, and the single runway at the international airport was overwhelmed by incoming military and humanitarian flights, leaving vital food, water, and medical supplies stranded just miles away from the people who needed them most. In the long years following the tragedy, the 2010 earthquake became a painful but profound turning point for international aid, urban resilience, and global engineering. The disaster exposed the fundamental flaws of top-down foreign aid, as billions of dollars poured into the country, but failed to establish permanent long-term structural changes or empower local communities. However, it also sparked a massive grassroots revolution in how structural engineers and nonprofit organizations approach building in developing nations. Seismologists and engineers flocked to Haiti to train local masons, introducing simple, low-cost seismic engineering techniques that utilize locally available materials. Instead of relying on expensive imported steel, organizations began teaching builders how to construct flexible, lightweight wooden frames reinforced with wire mesh, or how to properly wash sand and use correct ratios of cement to create resilient, earthquake-resistant concrete. The tragedy proved to the world that earthquakes themselves do not kill people. It is the collapse of poorly constructed buildings that creates the disaster. It forced global policy planners to recognize that urban safety is not just a technological challenge, but a socio-economic one, requiring deep investments in vocational education, local supply chains, and basic worker training to ensure that the cities of the future are built to survive. Today, more than a decade after the catastrophe, the scars of January 12th are still visible across the landscape of Port-au-Prince. While many of the grand government buildings have been slowly cleared or rebuilt, the memory of that fateful afternoon is deeply etched into the collective psyche of the Haitian people. The mass graves on the outskirts of the city serve as a silent, sacred monument to a generation lost in a matter of seconds. Yet amid the lingering challenges, the story of Port-au-Prince remains a testament to the absolute endurance of the human spirit. The capital city was flattened by the raw power of the moving earth, but it was rebuilt by the hands of its own people, standing as a powerful reminder that true resilience is not just about surviving the shock, but about building a safer, stronger foundation for the generations yet to come. What do you think about this profound turning point in modern history? How can international organizations better assist developing nations in retrofitting their cities before a major disaster strikes, rather than waiting to rebuild them afterward? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep, analytical looks into the powerful events that shape our world.